I'm 60 years old, a seamstress by trade for 35 years. My daughter Amanda asked me to create her wedding dress, something I poured my heart into for 8 months. Every stitch, every bead, every fold was crafted with love. I thought this dress would be my legacy, something she'd treasure forever. Then I overheard those devastating words, "Throw your wine glass on it." We'll say it was an accident. If you're watching this from somewhere where family still means something, hit that like button and subscribe, because what happened next changed everything. My journey as a seamstress began when I was just 12 years old. My grandmother Elaine placed a needle in my hand and taught me the patience required for creating something beautiful. She'd say, "Joanne, good thing take time, and great things take even longer." Those words became my mantra throughout life, especially during the difficult times. Amanda and I were inseparable when she was little. Her father Thomas worked long hours at the factory, so it was often just the two of us. I still remember her sitting beside my sewing table watching intently as I worked on client orders. By 8, she was making little doll clothes on her own sewing machine, her tiny fingers carefully guiding the fabric. Those memories are precious to me, snapshots of a time when our bond seemed unbreakable. Things began to change when Amanda went to college. She studied business and developed aspirations far beyond our small town. I was proud of her ambition, even as I felt her pulling away. Each visit home became shorter, her calls less frequent. I told myself this was normal, that all children must forge their own paths. The real shift happened 3 years ago when she met Bradley. He came from money, old money, as they say, and worked as a real estate developer in the city. Suddenly, Amanda's wardrobe transformed. Designer labels replaced the clothes we once shopped for together at department stores. Her hair, her speech, even her laugh changed. Sometimes when she visited, I barely recognized my own daughter. "Mum, you wouldn't understand. This is the world I belong in now," she told me, after I questioned $1,000 purse she casually displayed. Perhaps she was right. After Thomas passed away that same year, I was left with our modest home, my small seamstress business, and mounting medical bills from his illness. The engagement announcement came via text message. Not a call, not a visit. A text with a photo of a massive diamond ring. Bradley proposed wedding in 10 months. I waited by the phone all evening, hoping for details, for her voice, for anything more personal. The call never came. A week later, she finally visited. She talked endlessly about venues and flowers, about Bradley's parents' connections and expectations. "I've been looking at designer dresses," Amanda said, scrolling through her phone to show me gowns with 5-figure price tags. "Margaret says presentation is everything." Margaret was Bradley's mother, a woman I had yet to meet, but heard about constantly. "Those are beautiful," I said, carefully noting the financial impossibility of such purchases. "You know I could make your dress, if you wanted something truly one of a kind." I expected immediate rejection. Instead, Amanda looked up something unreadable crossing her face. "Actually," she said slowly, "that might be perfect. Something no one else would have." My heart soared. This was it, our chance to reconnect, to bridge the growing divide. I took her hands, tears filling my eyes. "It would be my honor, sweetheart. The most important thing I'll ever make." If only I had seen her expression more clearly. If only I had noticed how she glanced at her phone when it chimed with a message from her new friend Stephanie. If only I had recognized calculation where I chose to see sentiment. In the following weeks, I was introduced to Amanda's wedding party, 5 women from her new social circle, led by maid of honor Stephanie. They were polite but distant, exchanging glances when I mentioned making the dress. Later, I overheard Stephanie asking Amanda if she was really going through with the homemade dress thing. "It makes Mum happy," Amanda replied with a shrug. "And it's free." I pretended not to hear, focusing instead on the joy of creating something special for my only child. This dress would be more than fabric and thread. It would be my love made visible, my gift to her new life. How naive I was. The process began with what I thought was a collaborative design consultation. I brought my portfolio fabric swatches and sketches based on styles Amanda had previously admired. I imagined us working together, combining her vision with my experience. Instead, Amanda arrived with magazine cutouts of dresses by famous designers: Vera Wang, Elie Saab, Oscar de la Renta. "This is exactly what I want," she said, pointing to a gown that would require techniques I'd never attempted before. "Can you make it look exactly like this?" I studied the complex construction, the handmade lace overlay, the intricate beading. "I can create something inspired by this with my own touches." "No, Mum. Exactly like this." Her voice left no room for negotiation. "Margaret says the dress sets the tone for the entire wedding." I swallowed my concerns. "Of course, honey. We'll need special materials." The shopping trip for fabrics became another reality check. Amanda rejected every reasonably priced option, insisting on imported silk that cost more per yard than I typically charged for an entire garment. The handmade French lace she selected was exquisite and nearly bankrupted me. "Are you sure about this expense?" I asked carefully as I wrote the check, mentally calculating how many months of retirement savings were disappearing. "It's my wedding, Mum. If you can't handle it, just say so, and I'll buy the designer dress instead." The threat was clear. This was my chance to remain relevant in her life, and it came with a price tag. I handed over my credit card, watching the clerk's eyes widen at the total. "Nothing but the best for my daughter," I said, signing the receipt with shaking hands. Back home, I created a dedicated space in my sewing room for the project. I cleared my client's schedule for the coming months, explaining this was a special family commitment. The financial hit would be substantial, but this was about more than money. This was about reclaiming my daughter. The pattern making alone took 3 weeks. I worked from photographs, scaling measurements, creating test pieces from muslin before cutting into the precious silk. My eyes strained as I worked late into the night, arthritis flaring in my fingers from the precise, tiny stitches required. "You're worth it," I whispered to the dress, as if it could somehow convey my love to Amanda. The first fitting should have been a magical moment. Amanda stood before the mirror in the half-completed bodice, and I could already see how stunning the final result would be. "The neckline isn't quite right," was all she said, "and the waist needs to be tighter. But the measurements—" "I'm going to lose 10 more pounds before the wedding," she interrupted. "Make it smaller." That began a pattern. Each fitting brought new criticisms, new changes. The sleeves needed to be redesigned entirely. The train wasn't long enough. Then it was too long. The beading pattern I'd spent 40 hours creating needed to be completely redone. My body protested the demands. I developed tension headaches that left me nauseated. My fingers swelled so badly some mornings I couldn't hold my coffee cup. Sleep became a luxury as the wedding date loomed closer. Still, there were moments that made it all worthwhile. A quiet afternoon when Amanda brought lunch and sat watching me work, reminiscing about her childhood sewing projects. The genuine smile when I showed her how I'd incorporated something old, a small piece of lace from my own wedding dress, as her something blue dyed a subtle shade to hide within the layers. "That's actually really sweet, Mum," she said. And for a moment my little girl was back. Then her phone would ding with messages from Stephanie or Bradley, and the wall would go back up. Once I entered the room unexpectedly and caught the end of a phone conversation. "Yeah, it's free, so that's something. Keeps her busy, you know. Makes her feel important." She didn't see me standing there, didn't notice as I quietly backed out of the room. My heart cracking just a little more. 3 months into the project, Tensions began escalating with each interaction. Amanda arrived for her fitting 30 minutes late, bringing Stephanie along without warning. "Sorry we were having brunch with Bradley's mum," she explained without actually apologizing. "Stephanie wanted to see the dress." Stephanie walked around me as if inspecting goods at a market. "It's very homemade looking, isn't it? But charming, I guess." "It's not finished," I explained, struggling to keep my voice even. "The detailing comes last." "Hmm." She exchanged a look with Amanda that made my stomach tighten. Margaret was just saying how she wore Chanel for her wedding, family tradition and all that. This was the first time I'd heard of any such tradition. Amanda flushed slightly. "Mum knows what she's doing," she said, but the defense sounded hollow. The following week brought my first meeting with Bradley's mother, Margaret, a slim, elegant woman who assessed me with cool politeness. "So you're making the dress yourself?" she asked, emphasizing yourself, as if it were synonymous with unfortunately. "How resourceful." "Mum's a professional seamstress," Amanda said quickly. "She's made dresses for local celebrities." The exaggeration hung awkwardly between us. My small-town clientele hardly qualified as celebrity status. "I'm sure it will be lovely," Margaret said, clearly unconvinced. "But darling, do remember that these wedding photos will be in the family archives forever. There's no shame in considering alternatives." Later that day, while Amanda was trying on the partially completed dress, I accidentally knocked over her purse. As I gathered the spilled contents, a folded receipt caught my eye. From an exclusive bridal boutique in the city, dated just 3 days earlier. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. There it was, a receipt for a full deposit on a designer wedding gown, the remaining balance due 2 weeks before the wedding, exactly when my dress would be completed. I confronted her as she emerged from the changing room. "What is this?" I held up the receipt, my voice barely steady. Amanda snatched it from my hand. "It's nothing. Just keeping options open." "Options?" "You've put down $5,000 on another dress, while I'm pouring my heart into this one." "Don't be dramatic, Mum. It's just a backup plan. Wedding planning 1-on-1. Always have contingencies." "Contingencies for what?" "For your mother failing. For this dress not being good enough for your new family." Her silence answered more clearly than words ever could. "If you don't want me to make your dress, just say so," I said quietly. "No, keep going. It'll be fine." But she wouldn't meet my eyes, and we both knew something fundamental had shifted. The next blow came when I finally met Bradley. He visited during a fitting, checking his watch repeatedly as Amanda modelled the dress in progress. "Looks nice," he said without really looking. "Very crafty." "Each crystal is hand-sewn," I explained, hoping to convey the value of the craftsmanship. "Sure, sure. Hey, babe, we're going to be late for drinks with the Williamsons. You about done playing dress-up?" Amanda laughed, a high, brittle sound I'd never heard from her before. "Give me 5 minutes." After they left, I sat alone among the scattered pins and fabric scraps, wondering when my daughter had become a stranger. The wedding planner, Susan, started dropping hints during her visits. "The dress is coming along, interestingly," she commented. "But do remember we need to finalize the photographer's shot list. He'll want to know if there are any special considerations for the dress photos." "Special considerations?" "Well, sometimes with unique dresses, certain angles work better than others." Her meaning was clear. They were already planning how to minimize my creation in the official documentation. Despite everything, I continued. Every morning, I told myself to focus on the craft, on creating something beautiful regardless of appreciation. Every night, I collapsed into bed, fingers bleeding from countless pinpricks back, spasming from hunching over intricate beadwork. Amanda began cancelling fittings or sending last-minute texts to reschedule. With each passing week, the deadline loomed larger, while my time with her shrank. Still, I persevered, determined to complete what I had started. What kept me going wasn't hope anymore. It was stubborn pride and a lifetime habit of finishing what I started. This dress had become more than a gift. It was my statement, my art, my final attempt to be part of my daughter's life. Even if she couldn't see its value, I would know what went into every stitch. The final month was a blur of 16-hour days. I stopped accepting any other work, focusing entirely on perfecting each element of the dress. The bodice featured hand-embroidered flowers that matched Amanda's bouquet design. The cathedral-length train incorporated subtle architectural elements reminiscent of the church where she'd be married. Inside the hem, I stitched her name and wedding date in pale blue thread, my private blessing sewn into the fabric. I barely slept. My meals consisted of whatever I could eat with one hand while working with the other. My few friends stopped calling, knowing I wouldn't answer. This wasn't just a project anymore. It was an obsession, a final stand against my growing irrelevance in my daughter's life. When I finally placed the last crystal, I stood back and truly looked at what I had created. It was without exaggeration the most beautiful thing I had ever made. The dress caught light in ways that seemed almost magical, the silk moving like water when disturbed. It was both timeless and modern, elegant and unique. It was everything a wedding dress should be, a labor of love transformed into wearable art. I cried then from exhaustion and pride, and a bittersweet knowledge that regardless of Amanda's reaction, I had created something extraordinary. The final fitting was scheduled at Amanda's apartment 1 week before the wedding. I transported the dress with painstaking care, padding it with acid-free tissue paper, covering it with a garment bag, then placing the whole bundle in a specialized dress box. I hadn't allowed Amanda to see the completed gown, wanting this reveal to be special. "Let me help you with that," offered the doorman at Amanda's luxury building, eyeing my struggle with the unwieldy box. "Thank you, but I need to handle it personally," I explained. This dress had literally been in my hands for 8 months. I wasn't about to entrust it to anyone else now. Amanda opened her door wearing loungewear and a distracted expression. "Oh, right, the fitting. Come in. I was just about to call people about the party tonight." I'd forgotten about the pre-wedding celebration she'd planned. "Should we reschedule?" "No, let's just get this done. Stephanie's coming over early to help set up." I unpacked the dress with reverent care, arranging it on her bed before helping her into it. The moment should have been magical. A mother seeing her creation on her daughter, the culmination of months of work, the physical manifestation of love. Amanda studied her reflection critically. "It's fine," she said finally. "The beading came out better than I expected." Fine. 8 months of blood, sweat, and tears for fine. "You look beautiful," I said, making final adjustments to the train. "Like a princess." She gave me a thin smile. "Thanks, Mum. I need to start getting ready for tonight. Will you help put out some appetizers?" And just like that, the moment was over. No appreciation for the countless hours, no acknowledgement of the sacrifice. Just another task to complete, before moving on to more important things. I helped with party preparations, feeling increasingly out of place as delivery people arrived with catering equipment and florists transformed the apartment with exotic arrangements. Amanda disappeared to get ready, leaving me to direct traffic according to her instructions. By evening, the apartment filled with her friends, young, beautiful people with expensive clothes and loud laughs. Bradley arrived with his groomsmen, all identical in their casual affluence. I recognized Stephanie Margaret, a few other wedding party members, but mostly these were strangers from Amanda's new life. No one spoke to me. I moved through the crowd like a ghost, picking up discarded napkins, refilling empty platters. Once I caught Margaret watching me with something like pity in her eyes. Eventually, I retreated to the kitchen for a glass of water, my throat dry from lack of conversation. That's when I heard them, Amanda and Stephanie voices carrying from the connected dining room. Are you seriously going to wear that thing she made? Stephanie's voice was low but clear. God, no. But I need her to think I am at least until after the rehearsal dinner. Amanda's reply sent ice through my veins. So what's the plan? Stephanie asked. I already have the Marchesa dress. It's being delivered tomorrow. I just need to make sure Mum doesn't find out until it's too late for her to make a scene. And the handmade one. There was a pause. Then Amanda's voice, casual and cruel. I was thinking you could help me out at the rehearsal dinner. Throw your wineglass on it. We'll say it was an accident. Then I'd have the perfect excuse to wear the designer dress instead. Stephanie laughed. Devious. I love it. It's not like I can actually wear that thing down the aisle, Amanda continued. Can you imagine what Bradley's family would think? It's embarrassingly homemade, no matter how many crystals she sewed on it. Has she figured out you've had the other dress all along? No. Mum's so desperate to be involved, she doesn't see what's right in front of her. This way she feels included. I get the dress I actually want, and everyone's happy. Except you have to pretend to like her creation until then. Amanda sighed dramatically. Small price to pay. The photos are what matter, and there's no way I'm having that craft project in my professional wedding album. I stood frozen water glass clutched in my hand as my world collapsed around me. Every stitch, every sleepless night, every saved penny spent on premium materials. All for a dress destined for deliberate destruction. All to maintain a fiction that my daughter still valued anything I had to offer. I don't remember leaving the party. My body moved on autopilot while my mind replayed those devastating words. I drove home in a fog of pain, nearly missing a stop sign. The blaring horn of another driver snapped me back to reality, long enough to navigate the remaining blocks to my empty house. Inside, I collapsed. The pain was physical. A vice around my chest, nausea rising in my throat, tremors running through my limbs. I curled into myself on the living room floor. Wedding photos from my own marriage, staring down from the wall, mocking my naivety. How had I not seen this coming? All the signs were there. The receipt for the other dress, the cancelled fittings, the lukewarm reactions. I had willfully blinded myself, choosing hope over evidence, clinging to a relationship that existed only in my imagination. Sleep evaded me that night. I pulled out old photo albums tracing Amanda's face from infancy through childhood. The gap-toothed smile of her elementary years, the serious concentration as she learned to sew, the proud beam when she completed her first quilt. When had that little girl disappeared? Or had I simply failed to notice her gradual transformation into someone I no longer recognized? Morning brought no clarity, only a hollow emptiness where anger or sadness should be. I moved mechanically through my routine. Making coffee, I couldn't taste staring at food I couldn't eat. Around noon, I called my sister Catherine, my voice barely recognizable as I recounted what I'd overheard. That ungrateful little... Catherine rarely censored herself, but even she struggled to find words adequate for the situation. Joanne, I'm so sorry. What do I do now? The question emerged small and broken. What do you mean, what do you do? You take back what's yours. The dress, but the wedding. Forget the wedding. That dress represents all 8 months of your life, your talent, your love. She was planning to destroy it for show. You don't owe her anything. She's still my daughter. And you're still a person deserving of basic respect. Catherine's voice softened. Joe, you've spent your entire life putting others first. Thomas, Amanda, your clients. When was the last time you stood up for yourself? The question hung between us, unanswerable, because we both knew the truth. Never. I had never prioritized myself. I can't just. But I couldn't finish the thought. Couldn't what demand dignity refuse to be used? Protect my creation from deliberate destruction. You can, Catherine said firmly, and you should. After we hung up, I sat at my sewing table, running my fingers over the tools of my trade. Scissors that had cut countless fabrics, thimbles worn smooth from use needles that had joined pieces into greater wholes. These instruments had given me purpose, identity, pride. The dress I'd created for Amanda represented the pinnacle of those skills. It deserved better. I deserved better. The decision once made brought unexpected calm. For the first time in months, perhaps years, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I arrived at Amanda's apartment the next morning, dress box in hand. Bradley answered the door, barely glancing at me before turning away. Amanda, your mum's here. He disappeared toward the home office, leaving me standing in the entryway. Amanda emerged from the bedroom, surprise quickly masked by a bright, false smile. Mum, I wasn't expecting you. Is everything okay? We need to talk about the dress, I said simply. Her expression flickered, concern, calculation, then forced enthusiasm. The dress is beautiful. I was just telling Bradley's mum how talented you are. I heard you last night, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. You and Stephanie in the dining room? The colour drained from her face. What do you mean? Throw your wine glass on it, we'll say it was an accident. I quoted her exact words. It's embarrassingly homemade, no matter how many crystals she sewed on it. Amanda's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Mum, I was just. Please don't lie to me anymore. The calm in my voice surprised even me. I heard everything about the Marchesa dress being delivered today, about how you never intended to wear my creation. You don't understand. Bradley's family has expectations. The photos. I understand perfectly. I've understood for a while, I think. I just didn't want to believe it. I placed the dress box on her pristine white sofa. I brought this back to you. I wanted you to see it one last time before I take it with me. Take it. What do you mean? Panic edged into her voice. I opened the box, carefully removing the dress. Even in the apartment's cold, modern lighting, it glowed with an inner radiance, the thousands of tiny stitches catching light from every angle. This dress represents 8 months of my life. Every crystal sewn with arthritic fingers, every bead attached during sleepless nights. I emptied my retirement account for the materials. I gave up paying clients to focus solely on creating something perfect for you. The dress hung between us, shimmering slightly with the movement of air from the ceiling vent. But it was never about the dress, is it? It was about me trying to stay relevant in your life, about holding on to a relationship that doesn't exist anymore. Amanda stepped forward, hand outstretched. Mum, please. I'm taking the dress with me. I continued, carefully returning it to its box. You already have the one you actually want. But the rehearsal dinner is tomorrow. What am I supposed to tell everyone? The truth would be refreshing, but I suspect you'll find another story. As I secured the dress box, Bradley wandered back in. Everything okay out here? Mum's taking the dress, Amanda said, voice rising. Tell her she can't do that. Bradley looked confused. I thought you were getting the designer one delivered today anyway. The silence that followed was deafening. You told him. Amanda turned on Bradley, betrayal in her eyes. Was it supposed to be a secret from me too? He asked, genuinely bewildered. You showed me the confirmation email weeks ago. I picked up the box, a strange lightness filling me despite its weight. I hope you'll be very happy, Amanda. I truly do. But I won't be part of this charade anymore. As I turned to leave, the front door opened, revealing Bradley's parents arriving for what appeared to be a prearranged visit. Margaret's eyes took in the scene lingering on the dress box in my arms and my daughter's flushed, angry face. "Is everything all right?" she asked carefully. "Mrs. Wells was just leaving," Amanda said quickly. "A small misunderstanding about the dress. Actually, I said finding strength I didn't know I possessed. I've decided not to allow my creation to be deliberately ruined at the rehearsal dinner tomorrow. Amanda already has her preferred designer gown." Margaret's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose slightly. Deliberately ruined. A wine accident that wasn't going to be an accident at all. I explained, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Margaret turned to Amanda, something unreadable in her expression. "Is this true?" "It's not what it sounds like," Amanda began, but her protest withered under Margaret's gaze. "I raised my son to value craftsmanship and authenticity," Margaret said after a long moment. "Apparently, I failed to convey the importance of gratitude." With a slight nod to me, she added, "That dress is exquisite. Anyone who couldn't appreciate it lacks both taste and character." With those surprising words of support hanging in the air, I left the dress secure in my arms. Behind me, I could hear Amanda's voice rising in protest. Bradley's confused questions, his father's deep rumble of disapproval. My phone began ringing before I reached my car. Amanda's name flashed on the screen. It rang again as I drove home and again throughout the evening. Text messages followed, ranging from angry accusations to tearful pleas. I read them all, but replied to none. For the first time in as long as I could remember, I chose myself. The days following my decision were the hardest. I questioned myself constantly. Was I being too harsh, too selfish? Every maternal instinct urged me to give in, to apologize, to maintain peace at any cost. Catherine became my lifeline during this time. "You did the right thing," she repeated during our daily calls. "Stay strong." I withdrew from wedding-related activities. The ceremony proceeded without me, though I later heard through mutual acquaintances that Amanda wore her designer dress and looked appropriately bridal. No one mentioned my absence, or if they did, word didn't reach me. The dress remained in its box untouched. I couldn't bear to look at it, this physical manifestation of so much pain and betrayal. Eventually, I moved it to the back of my closet, trying to forget. Healing came slowly in unexpected forms. One morning, I received a call from the local community center. They were starting an after-school program, teaching practical skills to disadvantaged youth. Would I be interested in leading some basic sewing classes? My first instinct was to decline. I hadn't touched needle and thread since completing Amanda's dress. But something made me say yes. And 2 weeks later, I found myself in a bright room with 8 eager teenagers. "I don't know anything about sewing," admitted one girl with purple-tipped hair. "But I want to make my own clothes instead of wearing fast fashion garbage." Her passion reminded me of my younger self, of why I'd fallen in love with fabric and thread in the first place. By the end of that first class, I'd remembered something crucial. My skill wasn't defined by one ungrateful recipient. It was a gift I could share widely. Through the community center, I met Lily, a young woman engaged to be married but struggling financially. When she mentioned dreaming of a special dress, but settling for a department store option, something stirred within me. "I might have some fabric you could use," I offered cautiously. "Beautiful silk and lace." That night, I finally opened the box containing Amanda's dress. Instead of pain, I felt possibility. This creation deserved life, deserved appreciation. With Lily's enthusiastic consent, I began carefully deconstructing and reimagining the dress to suit her different body type and simpler wedding plans. The process became healing. Each removed crystal, each reshaped panel represented a step forward. I wasn't erasing my work, but transforming it, giving it new purpose and meaning. 3 months later, when Lily tried on her completed dress, her genuine tears of joy washed away the last of my bitterness. "No one has ever done anything like this for me," she whispered, twirling before the mirror. "I feel like a princess." I took photos at her small, joyful wedding, sending one to Catherine with the caption, "The dress found its rightful owner." 6 months after Amanda's wedding, I received a text message from her. "Can we talk?" We met at a neutral cafe. She looked thinner, less polished somehow, the designer confidence diminished. "Bradley and I are having problems," she admitted after awkward small talk. "His mother takes your side in every argument, says it shows my true character." I didn't respond immediately, stirring my coffee slowly. "I saw photos of that girl wearing my dress," she continued, a note of accusation in her voice. "Not your dress," I corrected gently. "My creation, which found someone who appreciated it." "She looked beautiful," Amanda said reluctantly. "The dress was beautiful." The silence between us stretched, years of unspoken hurts filling the space. "I don't know when I became this person," she finally said, her voice small. "Someone who would hurt you like that." "I don't know either," I admitted. "But I'd like to understand." It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was a beginning. We agreed to monthly lunches, neutral ground, where we could slowly rediscover each other. Sometimes we talked about meaningful things. Other times we stuck to safe topics. The road back would be long if we reached our destination at all. The greatest lesson from this painful journey wasn't about Amanda or our relationship. It was about my own worth. For decades, I had defined myself through service to others, as Thomas's wife, as Amanda's mother, as a seamstress creating for clients. I had forgotten that I deserved respect simply for being me. Standing up for myself didn't destroy my relationship with my daughter. It created the possibility of building a healthier one based on mutual respect rather than exploitation. By valuing my own work and dignity, I gave both of us the chance to grow. 6 months after our first cafe meeting, Amanda asked if I would help her make curtains for her new apartment. She had left Bradley, moved to a smaller place, started over. "I remember how you taught me to sew when I was little," she said hesitantly. "I'd like to try again." As we measured fabric together, I realized something profound. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to value yourself enough to say no. Only then can others see you clearly enough to say yes to the relationship you truly deserve. What do you think? Have you ever had to stand up for yourself against someone you loved? Did it ultimately strengthen or weaken your relationship? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life experiences. And remember your creative work. Whatever form it takes deserves to be valued, most importantly by you. Thank you for listening to my journey, and may you find the courage to honor your own worth in all your relationships.